Hello and welcome back to the second episode of the NBAUSCAST. I am your host, Kade McKenzie. This week we've got a lot to cover. We've got LeBron's comments about LA after their loss to the Clippers. We're also going to be discussing the new look Warriors and if their championship window has actually closed. We're also going to be discussing Kyrie and the start of his season with the Nets. Also discussing some breakout players from this season as well. And most importantly, of course, Harden hitting himself in the face with a basketball. Got to be the best segment out of them. Anyway, guys, let's get straight into it. So with the start of the NBA season kicking off in LA, one of the most hyped games of the year, Lakers versus Clippers. The Clippers, without Paul George, take over the Staples Center and win against the new look Lakers. Kawhi came out with his own New Balance commercial saying that this is now his city. He took it to LeBron and the Lakers that night. They came away with the victory to start the season. Now, after the game, LeBron was asked a question about it, and he also made the comment about that apparently there is no rivalry between LA Clippers and the LA Lakers, and they're just learning to grow and learn how to play together as a team still. This is something I definitely do not agree with. For one, this is definitely a rivalry. Kawhi Leonard, as I mentioned last week, is the number one player in basketball right now. He is playing at a high level than LeBron on offense and defense, of course. He's leading his team right now to a similar record, but is doing it without his second best player in Paul George. And LeBron has a fully loaded squad right now. The thing is about it being a rivalry is I understand that, they haven't faced off in, the Western Conference Finals or anything like that. But the fact that Kawhi Leonard, as LeBron, you were trying to recruit to come to the Lakers this season. Instead of doing that, not only does Kawhi come to the Clippers and say, look out LeBron, I am here. I'm going to challenge you head on instead of joining you. He brings Paul George with him, same town, same building. They're both championship contenders, and with Kawhi being the best player in the world right now, and proving it in Game 1, it just proves that it is a rivalry. LeBron didn't play aggressive after the first quarter of the game and needed to step up to the challenge of trying to take out Kawhi and the Clippers. You could tell he was very passive and trying to get AD involved. There was a lot of post play and not enough pick and roll with AD. And this is probably the reason why it looked like LeBron wasn't being aggressive. But the fact that you came out, said it's not a rivalry, is just utter ridiculous. This is the matchup everyone was waiting to see. It's what's being predicted to be the Western Conference Finals this year, is Clippers versus Lakers. Right now, LeBron, I'm sorry, one of my favourite players, but you need to step it up. Next time you play the Clippers, I don't want to hear anything about, this isn't a rivalry. We're still trying to work things out, come together as a team. There's instances in basketball where you need to take over. You know how important that game was. You know that Kawhi is considered the best player in the league right now by many and has taken over your throne. He's come to LA to dethrone you as the best player in not just LA, but in basketball. You need to step it up, and next time you play, take on the challenge. Don't be passive. Be aggressive. Play hard. Because if you're not, Kawhi is going to do you once again. He'll also have Paul George back by then. And if it wasn't for Denny Green, you would have been blown out. This is 100% a rivalry. And LeBron, you need to step it up. Another thing about saying it's not a rivalry, just look at New York and New Jersey, for instance, with Brooklyn. They don't share the same building. You have to go over the Brooklyn Bridge just to get to each other. And they even have a rivalry. After KD and Irving picked the Nets over the Knicks, you could even hear the Knicks fans in the Nets crowd booing when they played earlier this week. If they've got a rivalry, surely the Lakers and the Clippers also have a rivalry. Wake up, LeBron. Okay, moving on to our second segment, the Golden State Warriors. Not the start to the season they were hoping for. No Clay. No KD, he's gone. You don't have Andre Iguodala anymore. Livingston's retired. Quinn Cook's gone. And unfortunately, through the first week of the NBA, the Warriors are looking dreadful. Even Draymond Green said it in an interview after one of the games. He just said they absolutely suck right now. And he's not wrong. The Warriors clipped up their first win of the season against the Pelicans, who's a very young side. They don't have Zion at all playing. And it's just not looking good so far. If you recall from last week, I did mention I was considering Steph for the MVP, but what this first, and I changed my mind, and what this first week's shown is that I think I've made the right decision. So, for instance, anytime Steph is currently getting the ball, he is being swarmed the second he gets over half court. Apart from D'Angelo Russell, unfortunately, they don't really have any players on offense. Yes, Draymond's an all-star. He's a great all-round player, but he cannot shoot at all. And until they have Clay back, unfortunately, this season is not looking very good for the Warriors. But I've been hearing a lot about people saying that their championship window is closed. I don't agree with this. In my opinion, I believe the Warriors, over the next 2 to 3 years, still have a chance to be in the running for an NBA title. Once Clay comes back this year, has another full off-season to heal and rehab and get back to 100%, you've got your original core. You've got Clay, Steph, and Draymond still. You've also got a trading piece in D'Angelo Russell, who you could use to get either a couple of role players to build around Steph, Clay, and Draymond again, or you could try and bring in another complementary star to play alongside them and hopefully continue their run. When last seen as just this core, and I understand the rest of the team was different, but you had the Splash Brothers, with Draymond as pick and roll partner for Curry and setting the tone defensively. This core was part of a 73-win team. 73 wins. Let me just repeat that. The championship window is not closed. I can see this year they've got no chance of doing anything. If they somehow scrape to the playoffs, they'll get bounced in the first round. But next year, with Clay coming back, potentially moving D'Angelo Russell to make room for another player or some more depth or, some players to put around them, the Warriors still have a chance to win another championship. Over the next 3 years, I believe you'll see that. And I don't think the Warriors' run is over just yet. This season, yes. But over the next few years, no. And it does pay me to say that because I really dislike the Warriors. But you got to give them credit. They still have the main core. They've got a great coach in Steve Kerr, who I think is going to cop a lot of flack this year, obviously because they're not going to do well. The first time they don't have a stacked side that overpowers everyone. But I still think he's a great coach. The Warriors will be back next season and be competing for a championship. Okay, and moving on. In this next segment, we're going to be talking about Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets. What a good start to the season. Couple close games. They lost their first game in overtime to the Wolves, where Kyrie went bonkers, dropping a 50-point performance in his debut, highest debut for points in NBA history. Absolutely balled out. Now, I think the Nets this season, they do have a chance, a very high chance, that they're going to make the playoffs, considering they are in the East. They do have a good core of players around Kyrie at the moment, obviously with KD out. They've got some good shooters in there in Harris, LeVert. I really, really like Jarrett Allen. I think he's a great upcoming talent in the center position. I know he didn't start the last game, but should be starting every game with DeAndre Jordan supporting off the bench, in my opinion. So they will make the playoffs. However, unfortunately, they're not going to go really far without KD. Now, Kyrie, for instance, I really want to focus on. This is the first time in probably 2 to 3 years I have seen Kyrie play like he actually wants to be on that team. He was very emotional in his pre-game speech before the season opener, talking to the Nets fans. And you could just tell he really wants to play for them. He wants to be there. The emotion he was showing after missing that game-winning shot, after dropping 50, you could tell he was upset. I'm really liking the fact, I know it's only early, it's only been 3 games, but you could tell that he really wants to play for them. He's even coming out as a potential MVP candidate so far. He's averaging 38 points and 6 assists through the first 3 games. Now, I know it's only a short sample size, but he's definitely showing how good he actually is. And he's reminding us how good he is. He's bringing out these street ball, New York kind of Rucker Park moves, like the moves he was pulling out in his movie about Uncle Drew. He just looks like, and he even said it, he's home. You can tell he wants to play there. Coming into next season, when KD does return, if healthy, of course, they'll be instant title contenders. Even if KD's only 80% of himself, they'll be title contenders. Because 80% of KD is still better than 90% of this league. And with Kyrie balling the way he is, if he can keep this up, he will be in the running for an MVP season this year. The first probably time he would have been considered for it as well. I think also showing that he has matured as a leader as well. You can already tell the difference between him at the Brooklyn Nets and him at the Celtics. And I think that's going to translate well this season for him. He's got a good cast around him, a high quality, healthy organisation that actually cares and wants him to succeed and look after him. This is going to be a big year for Kyrie. Expect all NBA first team point guard if you can keep this up, and a potential MVP candidate. Keep it going, Kyrie. Now, to finalise the show this week, I do understand that I mentioned I would be going over who I think the GOAT is, the greatest of all time, between Michael Jordan and LeBron James. Unfortunately, I will not be covering it this week, and I'll be making everyone wait one more week for this. Reason being is, after doing more research, I feel like the GOAT debate will need more than one segment. And also, by doing this further research, I think I'm also improving the content that I'll be providing in the segment, and really showing that the GOAT debate isn't as close as what some people think it is. So keep an ear out for that next week. It's going to be a great segment. But to finish it off this week, I'm going to be talking about some of the breakout players that we've seen in the NBA through the first week. Some of them are surprising in my opinion. So for instance, Karl Anthony Towns, named the Western Conference Player of the Week. So far averaging 32 points and 13 rebounds. After watching his games, he's even shooting it from the 3-point line like he's just got the green line. He's lighting it up. He's ripping boards. Defensive presence. Looking like a grown man now. I think he's heard all the talk about, once when Jimmy Butler was there and left and said about how they're immature and they don't have the heart to play like stars and put the work in and be great players. I think Karl Towns has finally had enough and he's showing what he can do. It's been an amazing first week for Karl Anthony Towns, and I can't wait to see what else he can do this season. Moving to the Eastern Conference Player of the Week was Trae Young, who isn't being talked about enough, and most likely probably because he's playing for the Atlanta Hawks. But through this first week, Trae Young is averaging 38.5 points on 55% 3-point shooting, and also averaging 9 assists and 7 rebounds to go along with it. Dude is looking like the next coming of Steph Curry. He is playing absolutely unreal. looking like an all-star type player right now. I think he deserves more credit considering the team he's on and how well he's performing. He's also pretty much kept every game competitive that they're in. He's even won a game. And I think that if he can keep this up, he'll definitely be a look-in for most improved from, even though sophomores don't normally win it. If he keeps playing at this level, it's going to be insane to see. And I can't wait to keep watching him as well. Another player that I'm really liking this season so far is Brandon Ingram. After being traded from the Lakers, obviously battling health issues last season, with blood clots, he's looking really good so far, averaging 27 points to start the season. If he can stay healthy and also develop a better, outside shot, he's got the frame to look like KD, and honestly, could be another coming of KD. Obviously, it's going to be hard for him to be at KD's level, considering he's one of the greatest offensive players we've ever seen. But he's got that type of body frame, plays a similar type of way that KD does, and could be, a lesser version of KD, but a really good all-star one day if he can keep it up. Really liking what I'm seeing from him. Another player that has broken out this season after a huge postseason last year, Pascal Siakam of the Toronto Raptors. He's showing why he's deserving the money he got paid. To start the season, he's averaging a double-double in points and rebounds, and he's top 10 in scoring. And I think he's going to be one of the best forwards in the league over the next few years. Another player I'm really glad to see having a comeback season, Paul Zingis from the Dallas Mavericks, averaging 26 points so far after coming off a really bad injury for him. If he can stay healthy, I think can be a top 5, center/power forward in this league, and I think will prove, unfortunately, New York wrong. They should not have traded him. They should have kept him and built around him. This dude can ball. My last breakout player is one that people might not have really thought to mention, as he's already been an MVP in this league, ravelled by injury over the last few years since winning the MVP award at the youngest age ever. Yes, I'm talking about Derrick Rose. Coming to the Pistons this season, playing without Blake Griffin, he has them so far at 500 through 4 games. He's averaging 25 points a game and is looking like a younger version of himself that we really wish was there all through the years if he didn't get injured. He's absolutely balling right now. He's coming up clutch in clutch time. He had the go-ahead basket today against the Indiana Pacers on the anniversary of his league debut. I really hope Derrick Rose can stay healthy, because if so, they're not, unfortunately, being on the Pistons with Blake Griffin and, Reggie Jackson and Andre Drummond, they have some really good players. Unfortunately, they're not good enough to win a championship or get to the conference finals, in my opinion. But this could be a sleeper team to come through and, give it a shake-up, get to the semi-finals of the Eastern Conference. And I'm just loving seeing Derrick Rose ball and play hard like this. Such a good thing to see, and I hope he can keep it up. So thank you so much for listening to the second episode of the NBA Auscast. Like always, if you did want to discuss any of the topics with me, you can follow me on Twitter at NBAUSK, NBAUSK. You can listen to my podcast on YouTube under NBAUSCAST, which is NBAUSCAST, and you can also listen by searching me on SoundCloud at NBAUSCADE, NBAUSKADE. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll be back next week with another episode of the NBA Auscast.